a list of all the candidates standing in Oldham East is available on the BBC website. Well, let's discuss the Liberal Democrat manifesto now with their Treasury spokesman, Vince Cable. Vince Cable, why, when you say the public finances are in a terrible state and are going to need really serious cuts, can you find £17 billion to give away in tax breaks?
Well, because the 17 billion isn't been given away, it's been raised from other people. I mean, the tax package is broadly neutral. We do actually have a small increase in taxation based on this levy on the banking system, roughly 2 billion. So there's a small increase in one tax, but the tax package itself is self-contained. We think there is a connection with that bigger problem because there is going to have to be some very tough cuts, and we spelt out what some of them are. The next few years are going to be very difficult, and we think it's very important that there is a sense of fairness, solidarity, which would be helped by having a package of tax measures that introduces greater fairness in the system.
But this has got nothing to do with fairness. I mean, if you're a single mother on £6.5 grand, for example, you don't get anything. If you're a couple with a dual income of £90,000, you get £1,400.
Well, certainly true.
Is that fair?
If you don't pay income tax, then you're not going to get any relief from income tax. That's self-evident. But for vast numbers of people on low and middle incomes, this is a considerable advantage.
But the very poorest don't benefit.
No, they don't, because they're either on benefit or they're below the level at which they pay tax. That's perfectly true.
Let's look at another thing you say in the manifesto. You refer to the rise in national insurance contributions as a tax upon jobs, which is a term the Tories use as well. In which case, why not cut it as they're going to?
Well, we do say in the manifesto that it was not a desirable thing to have done, and it wasn't the best way to approach the problem. But we say quite honestly, we can't see how we would raise the money to deal with it, so we've distanced ourselves from the Conservatives because we think their plans are threadbare and they've advanced all kind of vague efficiency savings to pay for it. But certainly, in terms of basic analysis, it isn't desirable to raise taxes on employment. And in an ideal world, we would not just stop the increase, we'd actually reduce it, but it's not an ideal world.
How many of the policies in here would be absolutely non-negotiable if you were invited to join a government either led by Gordon Brown or David Cameron?
Well, I think if we're talking about negotiability, we're talking about the basic principle to the manifesto rather than specific items.
Well, there are very many specific items. There are policies on getting late-night buses to drop you off somewhere other than the bus stop.
Well, clearly that's not a major issue in the kind of context you're describing.
Nor I take it is the discount you get when there's a bus replacement rail service. That's not big.
No, but the big items are the key tax reforms based on fairness, the commitment to sorting out the economy, which clearly has the deficit reduction at its heart, the commitment to education, the pupil premium, and cleaning up politics. Those are the four big themes around which we're campaigning. And, were we ever to be in a situation of discussing policy with other parties, those are the themes that we would be wanting to pursue.
They are all absolute preconditions for you sharing any kind of power in any kind of form.
No, I didn't say that.
No, you didn't.
We're not talking here about negotiating strategies and tactics. We're saying those are our principles, those are what we're campaigning on, those are the things that matter. You're
a popular man. All the opinion polls say Vince Cable, that looks like a chap who knows what he's talking about when he talks about the economy. Would you serve in a government under Gordon Brown?
I think it's very highly unlikely that situation would ever arise, and it's not something I would consider remotely plausible. What I would say is that I would sit in a government, a Liberal Democrat administration. I'm very happy to be part of that team. I'm not the slightest bit interested in working for other people.
Right. I know you really haven't answered the question. If you were asked by Gordon Brown to join his government, would you do so?
I would not join his government as a Liberal Democrat working for a Labour government. Absolutely not in question whatever. I'm not interested in being poached or working for another party.
In a coalition?
Absolutely clear. I'm part of the Liberal Democrat team. Coalitions are not on the agenda at the moment. It's a very unlikely outcome.
Has all this stuff sort of turned your head a little bit? I mean, I saw last month you had to issue an apology for saying that you've been invited to the Treasury to discuss...
No, I didn't. Actually, I didn't. I didn't apologise. I wasn't asked to give an apology. The story was actually wrong. I mean, we'd had a routine meeting with the Permanent Secretary to the Treasury, because all the key civil servants are meeting their spokesman from our party and others. And the press made more out of that meeting than I think they perhaps should have done. We did actually put it in context. I subsequently met the Permanent Secretary of the Treasury. We had a laugh about it. He certainly didn't seek an apology from me, and I didn't offer one.
But it would be great, would it not, if you devoted your life to politics and wanting to see things get done, to get the opportunity to get things done.
Yes, that's right. I'm not just a commentator, and that's why the Liberal Democrats are competing for government. That's why we've got a manifesto for government, which I think was pretty credible. And I would like to be in a position, working with Nick Clegg and my colleague, to implement it. That's what we're about.
Vince Cable, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, in a moment, we'll report on the Liberal Democrat manifesto, but first, however this election turns out, we've already reported on the Liberal Democrat manifesto. I don't know why that line suddenly slipped in there, but there is near universal agreement that there's everything to play for. One of the things that makes the outcome unpredictable, though, is the extent to which people vote tactically or decide to cast their votes not for the candidate or party they'd like to win in an ideal world, but to prevent one they don't like being elected. It could be crucial in this election, so we sent David Grossman to Hastings. Why Hastings? He'll explain.
The reason